we have the national IDs, but they do not specifically point to where I am from, Bamtakude. So in my village, where I am the LC1, we're going to give my people village IDs that specifically points to the fact that they are villagers. Because how best can we curb this? And this problem also goes at national level. So we have seen people shipping people and they register them in the constituencies that they don't even stay. So we have a big problem, and I think the Electoral Commission needs to take this very seriously, because they bring people from villages, other villages, and they register them.
So you witnessed an irregular election,
yes,
and you won regardless.
Yeah, but we saw taxis coming in the morning, and people getting out of taxis. They're given breakfast, and and then we were demonstrating. We were like, but who is that one? Where does he stay on this village? We don't know that person, because villages are small, so you can literally know everyone who stays around it, but you can't. So when we protested about the people we don't know, the police was deployed, but the police officer came and said, I follow the law, and the law says that as long as they're in the register, they're supposed to vote. That's it. So we saw people lining up or queuing up who are not from the village.
So there was a corrupted register.
Exactly. Because, you see, and that's the thing. So I don't know what Justice Byabakama is going to talk to us about, how they're going to manage that. Because for naive people like us who are joining politics, we thought, I just go and register myself and my wife, and we go and campaign at grassroots level. You can easily, lose an election because you don't know how the politics is played. The vote is not won at the polling station. The vote is won at the registration process.
So the entire process, in your opinion, was flawed to the end?
No, I just wanted to highlight that, because you see, I'm giving you experience of what I saw. Now, the issue of counting, I think the most interesting part about the LC1 election is lining behind people. First of all, as a candidate, you're scared. You don't know what you're going through. You're standing and they tell you, don't turn. So there's a guy who was behind me and he was telling me, Mami Serwanja tochuka. But behind you're hearing, and you don't know what's going on. But the thing is that it's the most credible election, because there is no ballot stuffing. There is no vote rigging. It is that they are counting one person at a time. Every candidate has an agent counting along with the Electoral Commission. 1, 2, 3. They're counting together up to the tail end of it. And both agents, or all the agents, sign.
Remember the counting of Tanga Odoyo of NRM?
He jumped from.
Well, we'll take a very short break, and when we return, we'll be asking how this election is going. Feedback coming to you about what exactly happened. In Lubowa, one of the residents says, please help me ask Justice Byabakama what we, the people of Vunamoya, should do, because the returning officer declared a different candidate who never won the election. With the assistance of the RCC, OC Station, Lubowa Police, people were robbed of their victory. Another report, in Seguku Zone 4, the returning officer refused to declare the winner and just took off after discovering that his preferred choice had secured only 2 votes. In my particular area, Chitala LC1, up to now, we don't have an LC1 chairman. The entire exercise was messed up by security. They locked people outside the gate. The few who entered were ordered to march out, and then we left.
So you didn't?
No one was declared chairman. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Simon. First of all, I want to commensurate with my brother, Odongo Too, that he has not won any election under my tenure. During my tenure.
And that's how he sees you.
Maybe I should invite him for a joint prayer so that we can cast out those demons which are preventing him from winning under my tenure. But having said that, let me say this, members of the panel and those of us watching us. There is no perfect election in a part of the world. A free and fair election is not synonymous with a perfect election. It's not there. Now, when we talk of an election that had overwhelming success, then we are talking of the quantitative, even the qualitative aspects. One, in these concluded elections, we had out of 71,214 villages, we had elections conducted in 70,090 villages, which was equivalent to 98.4% success and 1.6 which were not successfully concluded. So in my view, that was a very wonderful yield.
Quantitatively. How about qualitatively?
Even qualitatively, the 1.6% is where we had those instances we are talking about. Episodes of violence, episodes of disruption, or whatever, which rendered the whole process unable to produce a winner or the outcome of that election.
Were they negligible?
So in my view, yeah, that was negligible. But of course, you see, in any election, you have one incident which is negative and it appears to surpass the 99% positives of the electoral process. But that is acceptable. Now, on the issue of the areas you are referring to, first of all, Solomon, the chairperson-elect, Bamutakude is talking about. The issue of the voter, he's right in a way that the process of a credible election is largely centered on a credible register, because the register is the primary record of who is a voter and who is a candidate. You must be on the register. But we have the law put in place measures to correct the issue of a non-eligible voter getting on the register. That's why we have what we call the display period, that for every election, be it a general election or a by-election, after the update of the voters register or registration of new voters, the Electoral Commission is supposed or required by law to display the register at every polling station. In this case, every village was a polling station. And these registers were displayed at every village, and the people were sensitized. And the whole purpose of displaying the register, one, is to allow all the voters in that constituency or village to go and check, verify physically on the register and identify any person who may not be or who is not a resident in their village.
But how do you know that?
This is the whole thing.
Do you know everyone's names?
This is the whole thing. Now,
you have 5 days.
Vigilant. I think what we have, yes, what we need to do is to create a level of vigilance and awareness in the minds of our people that if we get together, if we come together and we go to scrutinize this register, surely we should be able to tell that this person is a resident and this one is not a resident. The episodes Solomon was talking about of these minibuses or coasters coming with the people on polling day, the first question is, are they on the register or not? You cannot verify voters, credible voters or eligible voters in that area on polling day. You create a state of confusion. That's why, but you know, Ugandans, we at times don't take some of these things quite seriously. When we ask people to go for the display process, very few turn up. I don't know whether Solomon went to check or to verify.
Justice welcome. I thought we could, through you.
Yes.
I thought we could be practical here.
Yes.
So you display the register.
Yes.
In 5 days.
Yeah, but you see, it was just 2 days.
Yes.
It was just 2 days. And this is where you come to the display. Usually you just come to check your name.
Yes.
Or maybe the people you know, whether they are there.
Yes.
Now you have a display of about 1,000 people.
With the faces?
No. It's just names and they are in numbers.
Yes.
Now you cannot know that Odonga Oto doesn't stay at the village. You can't.
You can't be knowing
You
everything.
can know over everyone in the village. Even when you say that you want the entire village to to come together and you all check, you may even end up cancelling a person who is a resident of the village. I would love to propose.
That may be the case in urban areas, but I can assure you in rural areas, people know one another.
Yeah, but we have urban areas,
Yeah,
so
I
we
think
can't
for
sweep
urban
that
areas,
away.
maybe we need to design something else.
I had made a proposal to you,
Okay.
Justice Biabakama, that we have village IDs.
Fine.
It's the best way you can recognize
I
a
think
person who stays on that village. And during the registration process, present your national ID with your name and also your village ID.
I think that should be factored.
That is not
The
for
law.
him. That's not for electoral
No, but I'm
commission.
just saying.
Yeah.
How
So
can
you
we
are
cure this
pushing that
problem?
now
The
to
QR
government.
is, if
Yes.
there are 71,000 villages, the Electoral Commission should be able to produce a register with photos. Just one copy per village. That is not asking for so much.
Justice Biabakama,
Yes.
if you had more money and more time, would you have organized a better election
But I think we did organize a good election.
under the
But
circumstances?
I can tell you, Simon, even if we had the math and we put all these things in place, does it address the attitudes and the mindset of some people who are hell-bent on creating another narrative, another trajectory about the electoral process? Are you going to prevent people who are bent on creating groups to come and disrupt? Are you going to prevent that? Are you going to prevent those who want to bribe voters? So I think the whole thing starts with we Ugandans. What is it that we want to have a proper, credible, clean, and proper election?
Okay,
I think that starts there.
Do you
Now,
agree that this election was organized in haste?
No,
you just had
I don't
two,
think
3
it was-
months.
I don't think it was organized in haste. Remember, the term of office of these LOCs expired, the elective term in 2023. And from that time, the Ministry of Local Government has been extending the term so that they are legally and validly in place. Now, when we released the roadmap, remember, we were ready right from the beginning. And by the Ugandans, some of them even had gone ahead print posters. You remember, Simon? They had gone ahead print posters until we came up and said, no, we are not able to proceed with this election. So what we did as the Electoral Commission was to remind Ugandans that now, what you have been waiting for, we are now ready to go. The money is available. In fact, at that time, I remember in 2023, we had even gone ahead to register villagers for the Women Council Committee's elections. We had gone ahead to register until we were told the funds were not available. But let me come to the issue you have raised there, Simon. On the issue of the incidents in those selected areas you have mentioned. One, as I talk now, we have received so many petitions arising out of what people saw as flaws or shortcomings or whatever happened at their polling areas. Now, even in your village, where the chairman has not been, the chairperson has not yet been declared, and even those areas where it is said the person with the longest line of voters ended up losing, in quotes, and the one with the shortest line ended up winning. All these are matters. The law says the Electoral Commission shall ascertain, publish, and declare the results of an election. We are in the by reviewing or looking at these petitions, we're in the process of ascertaining, did actually Solomon Serwanja, if we have a petition regarding Solomon Serwanja's victory, did he actually win or not? We are in the process of doing that. Was there an anomaly or not? We are not saying as the Electoral Commission, we are sapping the powers of the courts to interrogate the outcome of the process. But where a voter or a candidate says, look, I won the election, but the results that were declared did not reflect what happened at the polling station. So we are looking at those.
I see a contradiction here in your statement. Yes. You initially said we organized a very good election. Yes. Now you're saying we have so many petitions.
Yes.
I think that speaks to the discontent from Ugandans about the quality of the election.
No, I think, Simon, I think the point, really, the basic point here is that, yes, we had 98.4% success. We had 98.4% of the villages where the elections were successfully held. But there are some where issues have emerged. that does not take away the fact that elections were held in the majority of areas successfully. We have a chairman elect here, and I don't think there's one challenging his victory, and many others. But that, to me, I think what we need to address really is that in those areas where the chairperson has not yet been elected, or in those areas where there are issues that have emerged, what was the basis of the complaints that have been raised that prevented the actual victory or the actual results from being pronounced? To me, that does not take away the fact that the elections were successful. As I said, and I will maintain, there is no perfect election in any part of the world.
I see the ghosts. Rather, I saw the ghosts of 2018 manifesting again in 2026.
Which ones?
The same irregularities. Does this suggest that you learned nothing from 2018?
We learned everything.
And you let it pass.
And we learned everything. And one of the things we have said, let me tell you, and members of the panel and dear viewers, I think there is one critical component people forget when they are looking at the whole process of the conduct of the election. The main focus is largely on the Electoral Commission. But you should recognize there are other key players in the entire electoral process. You have the candidates, those are key players. You have the voters, you have political parties, you have security, you have everybody. Those are key players. You may find the Electoral Commission, and in most cases we do, conduct our business in accordance with the law. We organize everything, we sensitize the people, we inform the people, and they take part where they are required. But the things that create a negative aspect about the electoral process is the work of other stakeholders. For example, violence. It's not the Electoral Commission that perpetuates violence. For example,
no, but what's your
bribery of voters.
What's your role?
Our role is to organize, conduct a free and fair election. But we don't work in a vacuum. We don't work in a silo process. We work together with the other stakeholders, the rest of the Ugandans who have a stake in this election, the rest of the people.
You oversee the stakeholders.
Can you oversee people's hearts?
Honorable Lumumba, should the country sweep the anomalies under the carpet and we say this was an election and the country moves on?
One, every day offers us an opportunity if you have sound mind. It's a blackboard that you learn and you take in what you've learned from what has happened that day, even at a personal level or institutional level, even at a national level. So I think we all should learn from this. One is that we held elections for the women councils, the same villages, the same size of the village, and they were successful. I don't know whether you registered the issues of violence anywhere in the whole country, and none happened. So as mothers, we offered a good example to this country, and all of the others, especially men, should learn from the women, because our elections for women councils were very successful. So they should learn from that. Two, the issue you are raising, we can't just sweep away everything. Maybe what we require is that next term we should be able to explain and say, if we want to use, if we want to go for sacred ballot and that's what they think is the best, though the Mugole does not believe in that. He says the most transparent one is what? Is lining up. We should put in more time for the register, like many of you have discussed here, and also sensitize. Electoral Commission, you should add in more resources for sensitizing people to know. Because what happened this time, quite a number of people thought that since I've been voting in that village, my name must be in that village. Not knowing, like, we may have in this village 3 villages combined to make one polling station. A to C are voting on this village. Then D to F are voting on another village. Then F to Z are voting on another village. So if you happen to be within that range of the alphabetical order and they are voting on that village, on your village, you would assume so. There are people who would come to report on the voting day saying, I've come to vote. This is where I vote from. Don't you people know that this is where I vote from? But your name is not in the register. So that is something. Then too, people who are complaining in this register, they brought people from out. Like we have said, how do we identify people from, especially in the urban areas, because people wake up to go and look for cassava, look for food. People don't know the neighbors, don't know the neighbors. But in the villages, people know each other. So I think we would now find a method that brings the two to balance, the urban and the what and the rural, based on the different ways of how they relate with each other.
So the
but
country
also what
deserves
I
better,
want
right?
also to do is that NRM party sent 100,000 shillings per village for them to first have a baraza as NRM, to know, are you in this register? Have you come to register or not? So maybe Electoral Commission could copy that from NRM, and there is first a meeting some days before, so that people from that village, those who can, because not everybody of course would attend, and there is a village baraza to be able to identify each other, but also not neglecting the point the people have raised here about having the village IDs. And also, since when we are registering the NIRA, our IDs behind will mention your village or your cell. So maybe that is data that can easily be extracted and given to the Electoral Commission, village per village. So I think what we need to have is the whole of government approach to this issue, since we already have the data of people who have been registered. Because that very data is used by other institutions like immigration, like the passports and the driving permits. All of those are used. So let's have the whole of government approach to use the data we already have in the hands of government, but also look at how we balance. But what we should also learn from women. For me, what I want also to add on is that the rumor that was behind some of this, I think, could be what caused the violence. Because there were rumors around that, you know, like when in Busoga, where I was, the president, when he went for campaigns in Iganga, where he called the leaders of NRM at the sub-regional level, they put the issue of looking into the remuneration or facilitation of chairperson 0C1. And so he didn't comment about it because I think because he had not had a discussion within NRM, so he could not commit, and it wasn't part of what was in the manifesto of NRM. So people left saying he's going to give us 500,000 per month. He said 120 per month. No, he must have, the way he was looking, I think he's going to give us 100,000 per month. So that, I think, is part of what caused some violence in some areas, and it was somewhere we are behaving like it's an existential war. It's an existential battle. They must win. If they don't, some could not. They could not. They would not exist. But
how about the notion that most NRM candidates went around threatening people that if you don't vote for me, you will not access PDM?
Where was that? Who can quote that?
Because
I was deep in the villages in these campaigns, and I didn't see it happen anywhere. And even, by the way, to your surprise, the village where I voted from, the one who won was opposition. Though all of the neighboring villages, it was NRM that won. So when you said they were intimidating, but on my village, and they declared him when I was standing watching, and congratulated him. Opposition won in the village where I voted from. So I don't want you to take that because I'm a minister and everybody in the village knows it. So who was intimidating who? If it was an issue of somebody intimidating anybody, I should have been the biggest intimidator in my village because I hold the highest... No, of course I had to line up for NRM.
So maybe people have a problem with you in that village.
No.
Well, Honorable
because
Musisi,
they chose the person they wanted, and I didn't want to go into all of that because if they didn't do enough preparation, like mobilizing people to go and register in the register, my NRM candidate, I realized that was the biggest. He took it for granted that they've been voting there, they vote, and that's how I was able to find out. Well, so we even as leaders in NRM or leaders in government would take it to that level with a lot of simplicity and humility. And I congratulated the winner, and life goes on.
Honorable Musisi, I saw members of the top organs of the NRM, including ministers and members of parliament, hit the ground, canvassing support for their candidate. No, didn't look quite enthusiastic about LC1 polls.
I saw a number of no people looking for. I think your site was selective. Given that I don't have aspects, I think I have a better site than you. I saw a number of no people. But the election is local. And I don't imagine that Honorable Kasole Lumumba, for instance, would come and canvass for votes in Chira for NRM candidates. This election is localized. So people were campaigning in their respective places. And to an extent, this election is not so much on national issues. The election is so much on local issues. And that is that many times defines the voting patterns.
Yeah, but you saw how NRM top leaders.
You can mention them.
From SEC, they were all at the grassroots. They
if
went
you are
to the
mentioning
grassroots.
Kweheyo, he was going there to promote rigging. He wasn't. But people, I
I saw Trodwong in his village. I saw Tango Doi.
Yes. And I saw, I also mentioned that I saw a number of NOP MPs in their villages. But I wanted to comment, Simon, briefly on the issue that the chairman-elect mentioned.
Chairman.
Chairman. That, you know, this is the most transparent election. I don't think so. Actually, some of us, when this amendment to the Local Governments Act was being brought to provide for lining up, I'm one of the people who opposed it. Because the key tenet of democracy is making a free will in a secret ballot election. We are in this place where we have preferred lining up because of some officers of Justice Byabakama's commission, who even after Simon has got 4 votes, they will declare him a winner contrary to someone who has got 100 in a
But
secret
there's
ballot.
evidence.
That's why when a person is making a free will, I'm saying that people are preferring this because of the level of how low we have sunk. You know, that's the reason why we're preferring. People wouldn't.
We are settling for less.
Simon, your wife should be able to come and make a free will and decide whether to vote for you or not in a secret ballot. She wouldn't, by lining up. She would have to be, naturally, she would have to line up behind you. So the point is that some of these issues we've been forced as a result of our poor election management, that people no longer trust the secret ballot because they have seen it. They have seen it that where a person wins all the polling stations and then they declare another person. That's why they prefer. But even by lining up, still there are more practices. They mentioned where someone sent you a message. I saw it in Chira, where someone counted only one line and then the presiding officer had to go away without counting the other lines, which were big. I saw it. And I heard someone mentioning it. And then the other issue of the register. Every election begins principally with the register. However, here I want to be, I don't know to call it the devil's advocate. I want to defend Justice Byabakama a bit. That some of these issues are beyond, because the law provides for different requirements. For local council, the requirement is residency. When it comes to the other general election, people like Simon, who is a born of Bosiro, can choose to register from Bosiro, even when he stays elsewhere. Yeah. And many people like that. Simon, chairman, can go and register in Vamutakude when he stays in Kampala for the other general election. However, this one, the requirement is residence. Yeah. So it goes back to the planning I was talking about earlier, that give this time such that people can generate a new register. It was so bizarre, Simon, to the extent that even in the last election, the women councils that Honorable Kasole Lumumba was talking about, they had a separate register. So you could find someone who is on the women register, who is not on the general register of the village council, because the registration was different. Yet, ordinarily, the requirements are similar. Even for the women register, you have to be a lady who stays in that village. So you could be disenfranchised on the general register and be on the women's register, or vice versa. So the question goes back to the issue of the government planning and always looking at this election as an inferior election, the else-one election. Because remember when we had it in 2018, it was coming on the heels of over almost 15, 19 years without the election. Now it has come after about 7 years. So this business of looking at this unit, which is provided for under our laws as inferior, goes back to what the chairman-elect was talking about, and it goes back to people looking at it as something that is not worth it.
Yeah.
However, even the other bad people have also come to it, even at the lowest unit.
Okay, Justice Byabakama argues that we can disregard the anomalies. They're negligible.
Well,
That's not what I said.
that is... If
No,
you-
he said he scored 98.4 success.
That's why I said that if you're looking at it from a quantitative point of view, the question is, and if you want to use that substantiality test, it's in regard to if you have an electoral block. What would happen to a village, for instance, which is going to have a chairman whom they didn't elect? What would happen to that village? Would the substantiality effect be working? No. So that negligibility that he's talking about can be disregarded if you're talking about a bigger block, for instance, a presidential election. However, if you're talking about, for instance, villages where they declared a wrongful person, then that is not negligible, because for 5 years they're going to have an imposter as a leader.
Thank you. Honorable Dongoto, we're taking a break, but in a couple of minutes. To what extent does this election define Uganda's electoral future, the trajectory of Uganda's electoral politics?
I think the Ugandan electoral politics is fast changing. During the UPC days, the state would reach for the ruling party. Then along the way, Ugandans have evolved where the ruling party reach for individuals. Now we have even evolved further where the Electoral Commission reaches for certain individuals the ruling party is interested in. So the trajectory is worrying. And this comes back to Honorable Lumumba, Minister of National Guidance, and my good friend Musisi. We really need concrete legislation on these LC elections.
Yeah.
Because Justice Byabakama is at the receiving end of all the blames, even when there are severe planning difficulties. For example,
Where are the lapses?
I was in the appointments committee for 10 years. Justice Kanyahamba was appearing before us, and he raised one poignant question. He said that he went to his village. He was summoned to his village. This is a judge of the Supreme Court. He was summoned to his village over a land dispute with the neighbor before LC1. So he raised a preliminary objection that the chairman LC1 is a relative of the other party. And guess what the chairman answered? That if I don't stand for my relatives, who else will? So the problems are bigger. The problems to me is not the elections, but what the elections is to produce. And now, my good friend Solo,
Yeah.
US and LC, you can be earning up to about 20 million a month, because most people are buying land.
But isn't it 10,000?
No. No, they have even changed to 10%. So another thing, Minister of National Guidance, we need to regulate the LC pay. Because the LC in Muyenga would sell a land for $3 million US, and these days they ask for between 5 to 10%. That means the LC would get up to about 150 million. It is illegal, but they are getting it. If not, the LC will not sign. Now, an LC from my village in Upolachen, they give them 2,000 shillings and some cups of sorghum in appreciation for the job well done. And yet, as a lawyer, they are very important in legitimizing transactions. So the minister, before the stamps are issued to LC1s, I think we need to start synchronizing how their pay would be. Because as of now,
You saw how
it is
much
a better
candidates invested.
It is a better business to be LC1 of Muyenga than MP. Because you can get up to 150 million a week, depending on the land sales.
The best in this country is Chisenyi.
Yeah, even in Kisenyi.
That is the best.
You know.
Yeah.
So and this worries me, because we are now seeing more people coming into the LC system. They are looking at the money. And I was praying to my God that the elderly people should win the LC ones, because the young generation, this one is born in 2001, they are more of transactional.
But even the elders have become crafty. You'll find an old man.
You see, I'm sorry.
I'll come to you. Mr. Tweheyu, you seem to be very comfortable with the country's electoral journey. Yet we are doing elections in a very shabby manner where you say in 3 months, you declare in April that in June, July, we'll have an LC election.
I'm not so comfortable as you'd like to say, because there are a number of gaps that need to be closed. The comfort I have is that for us as a party, we have done the best to prepare for the elections, even before the Justice Byabakama team announces. And this is what it should be. You people, those who want to stand for positions, should also take responsibility to encourage their people to make sure that they first of all learn, but they also teach their own people the process of elections. It is not, as Justice Byabakama says, it is not the day of elections that matter most. It is actually the process, the starting of the process, the making of the register, the checking of the register, the mobilization of our own people, and subsequently the vote protection of our own people, if it is for the ballot paper. For cities and towns, they count themselves a little more lucky because they had the voter slips. And those were also working as a safety for those who were electing and those who were being elected. So if you convince your people, if you went and organized yourself to make sure that your people are registered, then you would count on the voter slips and get to go. But if you didn't go there and you just waited and said, okay, they know me, therefore I should go there, you would really end up the way you ended when you were trying to campaign to come to parliament. You lost several times because you would be here at the station. People would look at you and they say, oh, this is the man. And I want to believe that all those people who didn't vote you knew you in person. Yet, they could not vote you because there are social dynamics which go beyond the simple appearance and voting. So people must learn what is expected of their communities. People must first organize the problems and actually the interests of their own people.
Thank you. So we're taking a break, but you're in the driving seat, and the general feeling out there is that you've raised the bar of LC1 chairperson, someone who is at PhD level vying for a small seat. What should the country expect that is unique from Bachaimen Betumanyi?
First of all, I'll never sit next to you on this table again. I think I'll sit there. Because every time you're going for a break, I don't get enough
I'm
time
surprised
to articulate my
you're
issues.
protesting.
Yeah, because you don't give me enough time. But let me just speak about 3 things real quick, Simon, if I may. The first thing, Honorable Justice Byabakama, I need you to take this thing very seriously. The issue of registering people who do not stay in the village. Lutete A in Kasangati, they locked people out. They brought people who do not come from the village. People did not vote. The other people are supposed to vote in the village. They were not there. Now, what is my suggestion of curing this issue? Because it keeps coming back, and that's how votes are rigged. I've told you, vote rigging doesn't happen on the polling day. It happens during the registration exercise. This is my proposal. I grew up with my grandfather who was an LC1 chairperson. And I'm happy that now I'm taking
Take it his
over.
grandfather's shoes.
Now,
Hereditary.
Muzee used to give people village IDs. And I insist, village IDs to identify you. When the police arrest you in the night walking, they'll say, who are you? Now, when you bring out a national ID that shows that you are from Entebbe,
Or you're registered in Entebbe.
in Entebbe, but you're in Bamta Kude, they'll start to raise issues. So when they are registering the national, for the voters register, present your ID, but also present your village ID. In my view, that would sort this issue
And then
out.
we have to look at the legal framework.
Yeah, we
to
can
accommodate
then
that.
ask Kasule Lumumba and OHT1C to think about
The legalities.
the legalities of that. That is my first proposal.
Well, yeah.
The second thing,
You're now chairman.
Simon, now that I'm chairman, these are the other things that I think I want to do. You see, the problem with what the Honorable Donga Oto said, chairman receive 100 million. So Donga Oto was in parliament for over 10 years. Ask him how much he was earning. They would be increasing his money for vehicles Up to now, MPs earn 300 million shillings per vehicle. Do you know what they've given to LC1 chairman? A bicycle.
Akagari. You have it already.
Simply, I've not got it yet.
And you're ready to ride.
But I'm going to write. But I think people need to recognize that LC1 chairman, it's not a job.
Yeah.
It's a service.
Yeah.
The
Sacrificial
people who take the LC1 chairmanship as a job end up stealing from the people
selling people's land.
and selling people's land and doing all the things that they want to do because they want to benefit from it.
Yeah.
What do I want to do for the people of Bamtakudi real quick? I think first of all, we are going to do a village voter count to understand how many people are in my village. I'm taking my staff for a retreat, a 3 days retreat to do a strategic plan for my village. Yeah. Listen, I manage organizations. Systems work in the organizations I work for. So why not
I think you're being ambitious.
No, listen to me. Listen to me. This is where we're getting it wrong. So we think that the LC system should just be managed with, that ambiguity. No, the reason why I'm coming to this village is because I have gotten the expertise and the experience, and I've seen systems work to improve organizations and companies. Why not bring those systems to my village? So I've told you, Simon, we're going for a 3-day retreat. We're going to do a strategic plan for the village, a 5-year strategic plan. We're going to do a work plan.
You have
And
already
a work
appointed
plan.
your team.
Yes, because it's done on that day.
Who among them is a relative?
No one. But let me finish. You're disrupting me.
Okay.
So we're going to do a work plan, an annual work plan, Simon, for the village. Now, once we finish our annual work plan, we're going to do an annual budget. And we're going to look at how to resource mobilize for the village, within and without. Simon, I'm networked. I'll call Justice Biabakama to say, I need a well. Can you support? I'll go to the parish and follow up the money from the parish development model to my village. What I bring to my village are systems, structures that have worked elsewhere that are needed to work in my village to transform my village.
I think you should be political.
No,
enough.
it's not politics. No, forget about the politics. Systems work here. Systems work in organizations. Systems work in government. Why wouldn't systems work at the village level? Because you have reduced the LCs to just be irrelevant, drunkards, school dropouts. It shouldn't be that. We must build our nation a village at a time by setting systems that work to serve our people better. That's what it's about.
So you should collect the
We're going to, I'm
by
telling you,
collecting
watch
the
me.
coveras.
And watch me and listen to me closely. Let
You-
me
you're
go on
now-
record. Let me go on record, Simon.
At the national level.
Let me go,
At the national
let
level.
me go on record. Simon, we are going to transform Bamtakude village to be a model village that proves that when we put the right people in the right places and set up systems that work, that villages can be transformed. In fact, I've started already talking to my fellow LCs that went, LC1 chairman that went through. We are going to do a national association of LC1 chairmen.
Can I come and sit on Bamtakud?
Please come. We are going to do a national association of LC1 chairmen. And I'm going to first of all ask that I be the lead. Because the mayors have that.
Well,
the mayors have that.
we are taking a very short
MPs
break. But Solomon,
The Electoral Commission shall compile, organize, and prepare a register for willing residents. Willing residents. Now, that register is different from the National Voters Register. To start with, the National Voters Register is a digital register. And secondly, as I think George said, or Honorable Dongoto, I've forgotten, that the National Voters Register is premised on 2 criteria. One, you can register to vote from either your parish of birth or your parish of residence currently. But the village register is primarily on residence. You might be born of Omoro, but your residence in Kampala. So you vote from where you are resident currently. So that's the starting point. And therefore, to me, it's not a waste of resources. The National Voters Register, as I said, is digital. It is photo bearing. We have the photos of all the voters. But if you are going to organize a village register with the photos, it's going to be quite costly. It's going to be costly.
you can extract from the national register to create a village register.
Yes, but you see.
I think that's feasible.
Yes, but you see, even that one becomes costly. Remember, and that explains why I think government moved away from a secret ballot for village elections to lining up because of the immense cost involved. Remember, in the village elections, every village is a constituency and a polling station, and every village therefore would have its own ballot paper. Now, when it comes to the register, therefore, I think it was found appropriate that let us generate a register. For instance, if you voted from Entebbe, where you are resident, but now currently you're residing in Kampala, so you are supposed now to vote from where you reside. So in my view, it's not a waste of resources. It's not very costly. In any case, these are just ordinary books which we print as Electoral Commission. They are, the recordings or entries are made by hand and so on and so forth. So it's not costly.
Okay.
That's a question.
Do you agree that the village register is problematic?
Yes, but the problem is created by we ourselves. We ourselves. If I know that Solomon Serwanja is not a resident of Bamutakude, but then I bring his name, I bring in other names. That's why I said the starting point for a free, a credible register is with the people. If you know what you are doing is wrong, why do you do it?
So, registers are manipulated, and that's what you go for.
Yes, no, we don't go for it. We put in place mechanisms of ensuring that the people of the village participate in cleaning the register.
In just 2 days? In 2 days?
But let me tell you.
In 2 days?
2 days is... But it's adequate. You can clean the register in 2 days.
I think that would be magical. No, that would be magical. No. Look, there are no photos to identify the person.
Yes.
So you expect me to go running through the register. You expect 1,000 people in a village to look at the register.
Simon, are you aware that in this recent election, actually some people were identified by his residents, and they raised the complaints and said, Simon Kagwanjala is not a resident in this village, and we deleted the people. It's a question of vigilance, and I emphasize, it's a question of vigilance. Even, by the way, even the national voter in the secret ballot process, where we have the photo bearing register, we also have that display. And the people again come to identify and say, but this is not our voter. So I think let us emphasize citizen participation, citizen vigilance in saying now we are going for these elections. Can we scrutinize that? If Simon does not know this, if Simon cannot tell whether Byabakama Mugenyi is a resident or not, someone who knows Byabakama will come and say, but this person is not a voter. But where you have the starting point is we, especially the candidates, the Solomons who came and said, now we are going for this election, I must bring in mercenaries onto the register. That is the starting point.
I think I get the feeling that you're now settling for less. That's what you can afford.
I'm settling for more.
You're running an affordable election, not a credible election.
I'm saying the citizens must play their role and must operate lawfully. But if you are going to manipulate the process as a voter, as a candidate, then that's wrong.
Chairman has a question for you.
Because Justice Byabakama, I want us to be real here.
Yes.
You have 1,000 people in a village, and it's displayed. I can't know all the 1,000 people.
Yes.
I
agree, Solomon. I agree.
Do you know all the 1,000 people in your village, Trail?
I agree.
I had 1,400 children in a school, and I knew them
By name?
Yes.
Then you're a genius.
either by name or by village or by parent. I knew them.
The school is different.
No, that's one.
Solomon,
But if you live in that,
These
if
are
you live in that
residents in a
village,
village.
yes, if you live in that village and
one
you're
of the
resident
things
in
you
it,
should
you must
emphasize
know.
on, Solomon, Solomon.
Yes.
Now that you are chairman, one of the things you should emphasize on with your residents, get to know one another, get to know your neighbor, get to know one another.
Justice
To
Byabakama,
me,
I somewhat presented a solution to this issue.
yes.
As a chairman of Bamutakude village, it's going to be my role as the chairperson to register all my residents
Absolutely.
in my village book.
And you go by that
do
register.
No,
Yes.
listen. And I will issue village IDs to all my villagers. On that day of 2031, I want the Electoral Commission, maybe Kasule Lumumba, the Honorable, and George Musisi here, can amend the law to say, for villagers, come with your village ID.
And then you'll start issuing to your relatives so that they come and vote for you.
Honorable
Are
Lumumba,
you sure they can't be
Honorable
duplicated in
Lumumba, there is a big contention on the pay for LC1 chairpersons.
even your own
We've
can
seen
be duplicated by somebody in the
this election has been quite expensive, with people doing processions, injecting a lot of money in this. How better can you streamline the operations of LC1 chairpersons?
Now you are bringing pay without
Pay, because it's about the pay.
Wait, without pay, they already have processions. What will happen if there is good pay? But nevertheless, you have realized how government has been increasing and factoring in the issue of inflation, about salaries of the different categories of people within government. Now, when I look at local governments, we are now looking at how government can enhance the pay of the LC5, the local leaders, LC5, and the district councillors, and it will continue going down. But the president has always stressed that let's not pay much attention to the salary, because once you are not in office, what happens? But let's put much emphasis on enhancing everybody's income so that everybody is able to live subsistence and come into the money economy, so that balances it. So I think let's put much emphasis on issues to do with the household income. Now that we had the census, where we now have statistics of the people who are in subsistence life at parish level, we should be able now to bring out and use that statistics instead of sending a block figure of 100 million per parish, because parishes are at different levels in terms of income, so that we are able to bring out to put more money in parishes where there are more people who are still in subsistence. So that is one way. Two, we should also make as much as possible this work of leadership to be more voluntary work, because once people's income is enhanced, then it should be voluntary. Because now, if you observe, do we as members of parliament offer better service than the person who is at the implementation unit of service delivery? I think these are issues that we should be able to discuss as leaders at different levels and see how do we balance. I know the lawyers here are going to tell me 1, 2, 3. They are going to tell me about the constitution. Once somebody has been paid, you cannot come to cut down. But let's also have that discussion. Maybe if we get whatever is paid to us as the ministers, the members of parliament, the local leaders, the RDCs, how do we now cut it down? Like government has done it under the rationalization process, where we're saying those in agencies are paid much higher than those in the mainstream ministry. Those in KCC are paid much higher than the people in the media council. Those who are like in my ministry, people in UCC are paid more money than the people in UBC. But all of these people are in the same ministry, all working to score in the same. So how do we now balance this? Because they're all serving the same government, scoring in the same goal, but paid differently. And how do we arrive at that? Are we getting back to get the human resource specialists like the Serwanjas to define the pay in relation to the job description, or define the pay in relation to your output? Because sometimes there is also the output. You can be paid, yet you are not earning much. So we need to have
being an LC1 chairman is lucrative in most areas?
In some, it is. Like I gave the example of here in Chisenyi, because one time we went for a meeting in Chisenyi when I was Secretary General. The chairman LC1 came in a very big car, very clean, like it has been smeared Vaseline. Now, I'm yet to see the one
The
of
Serwanja of
Serwanja.
Kisenyi.
Now,
But should
Now-
L1s be broke?
no,
That's the notion what we are-
no. I went ahead to find out. As a researcher and as a leader, I had to find out
Yes.
why is this one different. Because we had also held a meeting still in Kampala, and the chairman LC1 of the area around Lumu came in a different car. But when you look at Lumu and Kisenyi, they told me no. Now here, this is where they are selling plots. They are selling plots. They are transforming Islam into these arcades. So people are buying plots in centimeters. So the chairman LC1 has a percentage to centimeter. Now, I had to find out, is it legal or not? It is illegal. But in the perception of the buyer, in the perception of the LC1, in the mind of the LC1, the mind of the buyer, in the mind of the witnesses, they think the 10% is legal. It is not. But now that still comes to us as government. Why have we left this go on? With the whole enforcement system, why is this going on? Why should an investor allowed to be pushed to the level of accepting the 10%? Some have talked about 5%, but I think it comes down to 5% based on how aggressive the investor is. So the investors, whether local or international, should all be protected by government.
Honorable Musisi, how much of a rude awakening is the outcome of the LC1? And does it give the opposition some mind to do soul searching on your ground support?
Well, I don't think so, because some of the issues that have come out of not only this election but also the previous cycle is not even just about opposition NRM. There are issues, for me, I would love to look at them at a broader level, at the expense of sounding like the LC1 chairman-elect. Because, Simon, if you have an electoral process where the law is disregarded, even if it is in 10 polling stations, it should concern everyone. It shouldn't be a matter of opposition ruling party. Because what they call an election is the free will of the people. The election envisaged in the Constitution is a free will of being, in as much as possible, being reflected in the results. If you have an election where people die as a result of the elections, civilians, I don't think that is what. So, Simon, for me, I don't want to look at it as a terms of a rude awakening, because
So it doesn't give you a
akin.
taste of what's on the ground?
Not at all. I think it just gives us a taste of what is happening in the country, Simon. For me, if you look at it as opposition NRM, in my opinion, you'd be looking at it in very narrow lenses. The issue is, how can we, because you've had the chairperson of the commission decrying the interference in the electoral process. The interference maybe by civilians, interference by security forces. That is what we should be addressing.
Absolutely.
And then when those issues are addressed, we can come back to the contestations of which party is bigger.
Thank you. Honorable To, we want to cross to Afro Mobile now. Does